Hello anyone, everyone, and no one, and welcome back to another Minecraft Bedrock Edition tutorial. In today's tutorial, we're going to be going over how you can make a ghast farm in the nether that will produce up to 8 stacks of gunpowder per hour, 4 stacks of tears, and fully AFKable. As you can see behind me with this one right here as an example, this thing is pretty much non-stop producing ghasts that automatically get killed off and run into your own collection system. So, list of materials you're going to need follows as. And let's jump straight into the tutorial, shall we? So, as per usual, the first thing you need to do is find you a suitable location in the nether. And of course, we are going to be building this farm in a soul sand valley today. So you're going to have to take extra care because you're going to have gas and everything else around here while doing such. And once you have found a location that seems somewhat appropriate, we need to do a little bit of perimeter work. Now, I'm using Foxy's markers pack here, which allows you to see the spawn spheres and chunk borders. And if you can't see chunk borders, you're unable to use this pack, I have a tutorial on my channel on how you can find a chunk borders. But that being said here, if we grab Foxy's markers pack here and we turn on the spawn spheres for a sim distance of 4, which his markers pack is set up for, we can now see the area that we want to work with here. So from our AFK spot, which by the way is going to be directly in the crossroads of 4 chunk borders, once again we need to clear out a perimeter around here. If you do not have this tool, I would highly recommend it, because you can place this thing down and see what needs to be cleared out. So we need to clear out any viable spawn spots that fall between the green circle and the red circle. If you can find an area in the Soul Sand Valley where you don't have to do that, that's excellent. Most of us are always going to have to clear a perimeter. So let's get this area cleared out, and then we will jump right into the next step. Now, just something to point out to all of you all out there when you go to actually create your perimeter, there's a couple ways you can go about this. One, you can go out here and you can knock out all the blocks in between the areas of the 2 spheres here, between R32, whatever it is, and R54, whatever, 44, whichever one it is. You can do that. As you can see on this side of the sphere over here, we've been doing exactly that. And I say we because somewhere around here there's a T-Man who, actually designed this farm. But there's another option. That's not the only thing you can do to perimeter an area. As you can see right here, what T-Man is doing, slabs. Slabs are your best friend when making perimeters too. You put slabs like this all through here, all of these spots are invalid and no longer valid spawning spots. So whichever way you want to do your perimeter, that is your choice. Knock it all out or slab it all up. Take your pick and get at it. Alrighty, we now have our perimeter completely dug out or slabbed over, as you can see. Now, from our centralized location, and remember, this is in the middle of 4 chunks right here, we are going to go up 22 blocks. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, and a 22. From here, we are going to fill in a whole 2x2 chunk area. Now, of course, as I said before, you can either use Foxy's marker pack here, throw a banner in the hand there, and flip this thing around till you can see the chunk borders like so. Let's knock these out of the equation right now so we do not see those. And we are going to fill in a 2x2 chunk grid around here. So, fill that all in like so. Note, this is a building block phase. Use whatever block you want. You don't have to use quartz. I'm just saying. I'm just using it because it's shiny. That's all. All right, once we've got our 2x2 chunks built up here, the next thing on our list is we need to turn back on our chunk pack because we need to decide where our collection system is going to be. So we are going to go on right on the middle of 2 chunk borders here, and we are going to knock out 6 blocks on each side here. From there, we're going to come out here. We're going to place out a double chest right there. And then we are going to run hoppers into the back of this chest all the way through here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. That can go back to what it was. And of course, we will do the same thing on this side over here. We're going to place in a double chest right on the chunk border there. And we're going to go ahead and run 6 hoppers back through here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and a 6. This is going to be our collection system. Now, you can opt to do this with a minecart unloader if you wish. We are just doing this by just a simple drop off to unload them. Once you have your collection system in place, next we are going to grab our redstone blocks. We are going to come over here to the edge and we are going to go over 8 blocks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now you could opt to do this by just powering the blocks underneath with levers, but at this point in the game, if you're building this farm, you probably have no issue getting all the redstone blocks you could need. So all that's now powered through there, which will power our rails when we place them in just a moment. So we're going to do the same thing on this side over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And of course the 8th block is where our redstone is going to go. So we're going to knock out all of these through here and fill all of these up with redstone blocks. As I said, you can opt to use any block you want there and power it from underneath. It's whichever way you want to power the rail. This is the easiest for me, and this is how we're going to do it. So from here, once we have all of this in place, we're going to grab a building block of choice, and you're going to put a building block right underneath that hopper, and you are going to go all the way around the border of this thing and fill the whole thing in by 1 block on the outside. Until you have something that looks just about like this. Now from here, it's time to grab our rails. So as you can see here, it's now time to do the rail system. Now, of course, we are going to be using powered rails in this just to make our lives a lot easier here, and it's relatively simple. Powered rails, all the way across and through here. Now, of course, you can use whatever rails you want, but you're going to need some powered rails. And as I stated before, if you're at this point in the game where you're building this, it's probably not an issue to get the resources. So it's time to loop rails all up and back upon themselves. Now, if you're curious of why we're going for 4 individual rail systems, that's because there is a bug in this game that sometimes when you unload a chunk, if something is on a chunk border, example being a minecart or a hopper minecart, the game does not know where to store it, so it deletes it, because it doesn't know what chunk it's supposed to belong in. That's why we're opting to have 4 individual systems, 1 in each chunk. You can choose to do this however you want to. If you want 1 massive collection system, that's your choice. If you want to put a minecart unloader at the end, that's your choice. This is just how I'm showing you how we go about this. And as we are coming to the end on each side, make sure that your last rail going into that wall is a powered rail. That way, when your minecart hits that, it gets repowered and has the momentum to go all the way back to the front of the system. And after you have all of your rails and minecarts in place, which we're using hopper minecarts, as you can see there, we now have our collection system in place. Now, it's time to start building our spawning pads. So first things first, in this situation, we want to go ahead and grab our glass blocks. Now, of course, I'm using tinted glass because it's the only one that works with my RTX packs. And what we are going to do is fill in this level of blocks that we placed all the way around the outer perimeter of the farm. As I said, you do not have to use tinted glass. This is just what I'm using. Use whatever kind of glass you want. All right, so to get things started here, we're going to go ahead and grab our sand blocks, and we're going to start at any corner you want. It does not matter because this farm lines up exactly the same way. What we're going to do is we're going to take out that piece of glass right there. We're going to put a piece of sand. We're going to go over exactly 2 blocks, do that again, and so on and so forth. All the way across here, every second block needs to become sand. Once we've done that, we go up 2 blocks and we're going to do the exact same thing. And of course, we can go ahead and fill in with whatever building block you want. So 2 blocks, sand, 2 blocks, sand, 2 blocks, sand. Until you get something that is looking about like this. Now, I would go ahead and recommend, as you are building this farm, you go ahead and have your cactus as well. And on top of each piece of sand here, we are going to go up 4 high with our cactus. Another thing that needs to be done, and I would recommend doing this while you are building, is lighting this area up. See, ghasts, they don't care about light levels for the most part. They just kind of ignore the rules on that. But seeing as we are in a soul sand valley, we are also going to be dealing with skeletons. And, well, we're building a ghast farm, not a skeleton farm per se, right? So we want to stop that. So we may go into a little bit of overkill here, but this is where I recommend light blocks. Diagonal to each piece of sand here, I would recommend you put in a light block of your choice. You could, if you wanted to, just use torches in this situation. So diagonal to that piece of sand, torch, diagonal, torch. These are my recommendations for you. Do this all while you're building this, because while you're at one side of this farm, as you're building it, stuff can start to spawn. So 2 blocks, sand, by a 4 high cactus, grid all the way across the place. Every diagonal across here needs to be a light block. Now you can use torches, or you can use sea lanterns, shroom lights, glowstone, whatever you have there. And once you've got all your cactus and all your lights in place, you should end up with something just about like this. Now, some of you out there may be wondering, can I use 3 cactus instead of 4? And the short answer to that is no. No, you need to use 4, because when the ghasts die in this farm and you only have 3 high, the game sometimes just gets confused on where the drop is supposed to go, so it tries to go on top of the cactus. So a short answer to that question is no, it needs to be a 4 high. Now, from here, this process is pretty simple. We would go ahead and start our next layer up above this. The next layer up above this, if you were curious, is this layer down here with our rail system. It's time to start building this all over again. Now, if you do not want to build the whole thing all over again, this thing right here is more or less operational. You will not get the full 8 stacks per hour of gunpowder or 4 stacks of gas tiers, but this in its current state is more or less operational. If we were to cover this whole farm in solid blocks, and then we were to spawn proof the top of this, either with glass or with slabs, this is completely operational. All we would have to do is come down here to our AFK spot and simply build a box around here and AFK till our heart's content. I would highly, highly recommend at least 3 layers on this farm. And once you have your other 2 levels on here, there you go. That is the farm completed. Done and dusted, simple and easy. And as you can see here, just by flying around this thing, multiple ghasts. And another thing that I wanted to point out here that the game just showed to me right there is, you know, why do you want multiple levels on this thing? Well, because Bedrock Edition likes to spawn mobs from the top of the world down, and it loves to do vertical columns. So by building multiple layers, as you can see by these perfect examples here behind me, we're getting ghast usually right on top of ghast. There's an exception right there where we didn't, but most of the time in any kind of mob farm on Bedrock Edition, you're going to get vertical column spawns. But I think that right there is just about where we're going to call this a tutorial. I hope you've enjoyed today's tutorial. If you've enjoyed it, make sure to drop a like down below. If you'd like to see more, please consider subscribing. But on that note, that's where we're going to call it, and I will catch all of you all in the next one. Bye, everybody.